Hi, welcome to the official channel of Index Department of Physiotherapy and Paramedical Sciences. So today we are going to study about the Consumer Protection Act. What generally a Consumer Protection Act is? The Consumer Protection Act provided speedy compensation to consumers in their conflict against medical services. In entire healthcare delivery system, the most vital sector is the medical profession. The active participation and dedication of doctors, therapists is very important for its survival. Over the centuries, the medical profession has accorded respect by the society. Since last few decades or so with increasing commercialization for the profession has eroded this faith. In developed nations like US and UK, the courts has developed principle laws which give important rights to patients, but in India, people were not going to civil courts freely because the court fees is too high and there is long delay to get the final verdict. It may take up to 5 to 10 years or so. Parliament has provided an alternative, quick, efficacious, and economic remedy. According to this act, the decision should be taken within 3 to 6 months. There is no court fee payment and the person can plead his own case. Copra is a comprehensive legislation and recognizes 8 rights of consumers. Consumer Protection Act and medical profession. So here we are going to study about the 8 rights. Yes, there are 8 rights as defined by the International Organization of Consumers Union, that is IOUC, that are as follows. The one is right to safety. This means the right to be protected against products, production processes, and services that are hazardous to health or life. The right to safety has been broadened to include the concern for consumers' long term interest, not only their immediate desires. The next is the rights to be informed. This means the right to be given the facts needed to make an informed choice and to be protected against dishonest or misleading advertising and labeling. The third one is the right to choose. This means to be able to select from a range of products and services offered at competitive prices with an assurance of satisfactory quality. The fourth is the right to be heard. This means to have consumers' interest represented in the making and execution of government policy and in the development of products and services. The next is the rights to redress. This means to receive a fair settlement of just claims, including compensation for misrepresentation, shoddy goods, or unsatisfactory services, and when needed, free legal aid or an accepted form of redress from small claims should be available. The sixth one is the right to consumer education. To acquire knowledge and skills needed to make informed, confident choices about goods and services while being aware of basic consumer rights and responsibilities and how to act on them. The seventh is the right to a healthy environment, which means to live and work in an environment that is non threatening to the well being of present and future generation. The eighth one is the right to basic needs. This means to have access to basic essential goods and services such as adequate food, clothing, shelter, healthcare, education, public utilities, water, and sanitization. Selected provisions of the Consumer Protection Act 1986 explain. So here we are going to see the provision of the Consumer Protection Act. The Consumer Protection Act 1986, which came onto force on 15th of April 1987, is a welfare legislation mainly tilting towards the consumer, just as the Industrial Disputes Act, which is loaded in favor of workers. The aims and objectives of the Act, as given in its preamble, better protection of interest of the consumer and for the settlement of consumer disputes. Also, it provides for speedy and inexpensive settlement of disputes within a limited time frame as against civil actions which are costly and take years in coming to a settlement. Provision of the Act are in addition to and not in derogation of any other law for the time being in force and compensatory in nature. The Act investigates three tiers that are District Consumer Disputes Redressal Forum at the district level. The second one is State Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission of the state level. The third one is National Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission at the national level. Recently, the Act has been amended by the Consumer Protection. So let's read about the complainant and consumer. So first we'll be seeing the complaints. Complainant. Complainant means a consumer or any voluntary consumer association registered under the Companies Act 1956 or under any other law for the time being in force, or the central government or any state government. One or more consumer where there are numerous consumers having the same interest who or which makes a complaint. Now we'll be letting you know about what a complaint means. Any allegations in writing made by complainant that the services hired or availed of or agreed to be hired or availed of by him suffer from deficiency in any of the respect. Consumer. Consumer means any person who hires or avails of any services for consideration which has been paid or promised or partially paid or partly promised and includes any beneficiary of such services other than the person who hires or avails of the services for consideration paid or promised, or partly paid or partly promised, or under any system of deferred payment. When such services are availed of with the approval of the first mentioned person. Consideration. Consideration means fees or payment. Fees may have been fully paid in cash or check, or undertaking that it will be paid, which is accepted by the doctor or the hospital. The fees may have been given partly as advance, which the understanding that the remaining bill will be paid subsequently. The payment may be done by the patient himself or by someone else for the patient. For example, father for his child, husband for his wife, or any person for someone. A person who receives medical treatment in government hospital or charitable hospital free of cost is not a consumer under the Act. In case of death of patient who is a consumer, legal hires representatives of the deceased will be considered as consumer. If the payment has been made by any person who is not a legal hire of the deceased, he too will be considered as a consumer. The three words used above, deficiency, person, and services explained under this act are as follows. Deficiency. Any fault, imperfection, shortcoming, or inadequacy in the quality, nature, and manner of the performance which is required to be maintained by or under any law for the time being in force, or has been undertaken to be performed by a person in pursuance of a contract or otherwise in relation to any service. Service means service of any description which is made available to potential users and includes the provision of facilities in connection with banking, financing, insurance, transport, processing, supply of electrical or other energy, board of lodging, or both, housing construction, entertainment, amusement, or the purveying of news or other information, but does not include the rendering of any service free of charge or under a contract of personal service. Although medical profession has not been included under the term service, but in many of the decided cases, medical services have been deemed to be included in the definition of service. In view of the expression, service means service of any description. Now we'll moving forward for the meaning of charge. Charge. Fee, payments with element of profit making motive involved. As government hospitals, certain charitable hospitals do not charge fees. Hence, such services rendered are exempted from this act. In certain situations where hospitals are charging nominal stamp fees, contributions are made by government employees to the CGHS. Payments are made for cottage wards. Diagnostic tests are done under auto finance scheme. Such services do not have any element of profit motive. Hence, the persons availing of the services are not consumers and the services rendered do not fall under the Act, as there is no consideration paid for hiring of such services. Thank you.